have to move a player, and the player that I've been shopping is Seguin.
I just think there's too many red flags.
For me, if we get the right deal for him, then it's something we need to do.
The biggest news of the day came courtesy of the Bruins.
Here's a huge trade between Boston and Dallas.
Tyler Seguin was going to be the rock of the future at one point for the Boston Bruins. Why did they give up on him so early in his career?
Last summer, the Boston Bruins made perhaps the biggest splash of the NHL offseason, dealing former number 2 overall pick Tyler Seguin to the Dallas Stars. The move was surprising, but not completely unexpected. Seguin's name was a fixture in trade rumors, largely due to his lackluster playoff performance, coupled with comments made by Bruins GM Peter Chiarelli questioning Seguin's professionalism.
You know, at the time when it all came out, I was a little disappointed and everything like that. But, I'm a pro. I go to the rink every day and work my hardest. And then you go home and, obviously growing up as a kid and not as a kid, as an 18-year-old in Boston, that's such a hockey market, I got recognized so much that, sometimes things were overanalyzed or overplayed.
You grew up playing the GTHL, then you played 2 years in junior, kind of a young guy, always focused on making the league, and then you come to a really veteran group. It's almost like you've missed that opportunity just to have some young guys and some peers, really.
When I got thrown in Boston, they definitely wanted me to grow up pretty quickly, and obviously, I made, lots of mistakes and everything like that, but, that just comes with the growing up process, and, I feel like now that I've come to Dallas, even after just a short summer, I've definitely matured both away from the rink and as in my personal style of game.
Seguin's mistakes would become a source of much controversy following the playoffs, when rumors swirled of an active nightlife that prompted the Bruins to hire security guards to make sure Seguin stayed in his hotel room. After the trade, the controversy would continue, following an offensive tweet that was sent from Seguin's Twitter account, which he claims was hacked.
I think there's definitely a misconception. Some of the stories I was hearing about, security guards and going out in Toronto and all this stuff in playoffs or wearing the same suit, just little things I heard. It was unfortunate that things were being said, but I knew it was out of my control, and obviously I didn't want to start a PR battle. And I guess my worst bounce I think I've had so far in my career is my Twitter getting hacked at that exact point.
Do you think going back to Boston is going to be, what do you think it's going to be like?
I have no idea. I don't know what to expect. I'm not sure if I'll get booed or if I'll get a little applause my first time out there or whatnot, but I'm definitely excited for it. And in the end, I know it's only one game, but I'm definitely excited to go back to my old home.
Do you miss it?
I think it was a place that I called home for 3 years, so I will always visit. If I got offered a trade back there today, I wouldn't go, but it's a place that will always be a part of me. It's a place that I want to Stanley Cup in. It'll be a place that I'll visit probably the rest of my life.
After the move to Dallas, Seguin still couldn't escape criticism from Boston. Behind the B, an all-access show chronicling the Bruins offseason, revealed management's true feelings on their young forward.
I see work hard from Seguin without even half a second lead. And he won't pay the price.
Star player, no doubt. As he fit our culture.
I know a big thing of me, over the 3 years in Boston was, competing in battles, and I thought that I definitely improved in that area. But last year I didn't have a bad year. I had a pretty good year, and it could have been better. And now I'm just looking for strives to keep improving.
Motivating?
100%, absolutely.
In Focus, a Sportsnet exclusive.
I'm not fond of some of the things I did. You have ups and downs in your career. You go through aspects of your own development and your own maturity and your own understanding. It's been an interesting ride for sure in 30 years of all the different challenges and expectations.
Keenan knows he has his detractors. The price he has paid to do what he thought was right, what would bring out the best in those under his command.
They have the right to be critical of what I did because I did some things that I'm not that particularly fond of, and if I had to do it over, I would. But As I said, I cared about the team and was passionate about winning, very passionate, maybe to a point where it was too extreme. Probably I would admit that. The methodology from time to time wasn't the greatest, but they learned to win, and players ultimately want to win and like to win. I would apologize to anyone who felt that I was not clear in terms of how I behaved or how I tried to command certain aspects out of them in terms of their games. On the other hand, I've had most of Canada's best players for 2 or 3 decades that would embrace and say that our teams became very good teams or better teams because of I was able to make a contribution to their group.
Get on the body. Forget about Papa. Harbroff and Lee.
You go in cycles, and I got spun out in the National Hockey League. I know I could coach in the NHL. Decisions are made, and even when I was fired in Calgary, Darryl Sutter, I can tell you exactly what he said. He said, if you hadn't had so many injuries, you'd probably go to the finals. I said, well, why are you firing me? He says, I'm not. He said, the ownership wants to make a change. I said, there's no need for any further discussion then.
Battle! 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 Here we go. Hard back. Come on, kid.
I hope that my legacy is that he was a good, strong coach and that people learn to win. When you're paid to do a job, when you're paid to play hockey, you have a responsibility to each other, you have a responsibility to the fans who pay a lot of the bills, and you have a huge responsibility to the ownership. And that comes part and parcel. As I said, the greatest responsibility is to each other. It's a team game.
Class, here we go. 2 hands, 2 hands. Bump back here. Bump back.
And maybe the ownership will think the same way as the ownership in Calgary did and said, say goodbye to you. I don't know. But yeah, I made that commitment, at least in signing my contract to come here. It's a very challenging league to win a cup, and it'd be very neat to win the Gagarin Cup here. Mike Polino and I would be the first Canadians to be able to accomplish that feat. It'd be very special for us. That's why we came here to win.
A journey, it is said, is the treasure. The road is life. For Mike Keenan, one traveled in paces behind a bench that has moved him around the world and to the highest summits his sport has to offer. For one as driven as Keenan, Magnitogorsk is likely not the end. Perhaps just another stop along the way.
This is one tough customer, though, in Tie Domi.
Oh, man, Domi landed a couple of big ones.
Scores! What a beauty from Max Domi! Max Domi shows you why he's a top-rated prospect.
Guess who? Tie Domi.
Tie Domi becoming a fan favorite.
You want to talk about sick, and I mean sick skill? Watch what Domi does with this puck. He goes between the legs to get it to Horvat.
It's hard to believe that he's Tie Domi's son.
Totally different players.
Okay, Max, I know you've done a few interviews prior to the NHL draft, but this is your first one with your dad. How's that make you feel?
Yeah, no, it's been exciting. Obviously, you go through the process of the whole draft year thing, and it's been a lot of fun. And I mean, first one with my dad, so we're ready to have some fun with it for sure.
How does it make you feel sitting here doing an interview? This is the first one where you're actually beside your
Let's
your
get
son,
that
Max.
straight. It's the first one I agreed to do because of you, and
And the last one?
Probably the last one, yeah.
The moment you understood this, that he had this passion for a mini stick or a made-up ball, you exposed him to as much as you could around your life, and this was obviously something that you thought about, right?
Well, I exposed him to things that I believed in, and you take a lot of different ideas from different people, and you have the luxury of having a lot of good minds around you, and you treat everybody the same, and you put a team around him when you kind of know he's got a special talent, and you know, he's worked hard at it, and that's why it's nice to see the benefits.
Growing up, Max, in that environment, I'd say 99.9% of kids never get to experience what you did having a dad in the NHL. But talk to me about some of the people that you were exposed to.
Yeah, no, I'm obviously blessed to have the opportunity to meet some pretty special people, and all hockey players are awesome guys, and you learn stuff from them just by watching them and kind of seeing how they act on the ice, and not just on the ice but off the ice as well, and how they interact with the community and the people. And I mean, guys like Matt Sundin, Mario Lemieux, the Brian McCabe's, and I mean, the list really goes on. I mean, I'm very lucky to be able to interact with those guys and learn from them, and kudos to them for helping me out and kind of shaped me out as a hockey player, and not just that, a person as well.
We've been involved in minor hockey as players, all of us, and Ty, me and you as a parent, and we've seen top kids in AAA, and then they fall off. When did you first realize that Max wouldn't fall off, and he's got a real shot here of having an NHL career?
Well, to be honest, it really started in a brick tournament. He had that problem of passing too much and not shooting back then. I think he led the whole tournament in scoring, and he had 1 goal and I think 17 assists. But we couldn't get him to shoot. So I got Mats and I got Mario to start telling him, shoot the puck and call, because he listens to those guys. He doesn't listen to me. You know.
No kid in minor hockey can pick up a phone and ask Matt Sundin for breakaway advice. Did that seem normal to you back then, or was it something that you still said to yourself, wow, this is kind of cool?
To be honest with you, I mean, he was, like my dad said, he was like an uncle to me, and it's just like talking to your uncle and saying, like, hey man, like, what do you suggest I do on here? Like, do you have any certain ways where you shoot, or what move you like? And I mean, he's a great guy and a huge role model for me. I mean, I wore 13 when I played for the Marlies, and I was the captain of that team, so got some pretty cool pictures with that, and he's definitely a big part of my life.
Probably the best story was we're in the finals. Max was Bantam minor, and there's this one kid he couldn't beat on face-offs, and you know, I was like, I got to help my kid. Mess was in town for something, I think one of those commercials, and I was with him for dinner, and I said, Max is really having a tough time with this kid in face-offs. He said, bring him to the restaurant tomorrow, bring 2 sticks and a puck.
And you worked on face-off?
Take him out of school.
Middle of the restaurant.
Take him out of school and so I brought him with his UCC, you know, a little tie outfit.
In the restaurant you're working on face-offs?
I bring 2 sticks and a puck right in the middle of the restaurant. Mess is showing him.
Moved a couple chairs.
You realize that's not on the menu.
No, looking back, it's pretty cool though.
Yeah.
That is.
And it won the championship, and it really helped. So, you know, guys, Doug Gilmore did the same thing on face-off, showed him. You know, he's had so much different experience that other kids really probably haven't had one-on-one. But he's taken it all in, which is great, you know.
Your dad had 333 NHL fights, the most ever. His legacy is he's one of the toughest guys to ever play the game of hockey. What's your legacy? Where do you see that?
Yeah, no, he's pretty impressive. I mean, on the ice for sure, and people don't realize how good he was on the ice. I hate to say this, but I mean, I usually tease him about it, but he did actually have a pretty good shot. Hands were a little bit questionable, but
He's a magician.
Yeah, he gives himself self-proclaimed nicknames now.
Yes.
But yeah, I mean, he did whatever it takes to win, and he's a good teammate. I mean, every day he'd go to the rink with a smile on his face, and he'd encourage his teammates, which I obviously got to see, and that was pretty cool. So, I mean, at the same time, we're different players, and my goal is to win a Stanley Cup, and not just one. I mean, I want to win Stanley Cups, and I want to be a winner in the NHL, and it's something that I've dreamt of since I've been a little kid, and it's definitely something that hasn't changed.
The Big House, Michigan Stadium in Ann Arbor.
There's a lot of energy, and it's a very, very intimidating atmosphere. They will make that wonderful run, touching the banner as they come through.
This is Michigan. This is the Big House.
He remains one of the greatest Wolverines to ever buckle into the winged helmet.
Tyrone Wheatley takes the opening kickoff back for a touchdown.
After a decorated 4-year Letterman Michigan career, Tyrone Wheatley went on to play 10 seasons in the NFL. He retired, a Rose Bowl MVP, a Super Bowl appearance in his back pocket. Yet none of it compares to this: the walk from the locker room down the tunnel to the field at the Big House.
You know, words really can't put it into, I can't put it into words. I can give you a couple of life experiences that's all wrapped into one, getting married, having my first child, and scoring my first touchdown in the NFL. It's kind of all those things wrapped up into one.
This is Michigan Stadium, but in these parts, it's simply the Big House.
As you're going down and that band is playing right there in the tunnel, and all of a sudden you open up to 115,000 plus, man, it's getting goosebumps now, suit me up, man. But it's just incredible.
It certainly is. The third largest stadium on earth. In September, more than 115,000 packed it when the Wolverines hosted Notre Dame. And on New Year's Day, they'll get a similar crowd for the Winter Classic, when the Maple Leafs and Red Wings play the first NHL game ever at the Big House.
This is going to be the granddaddy of them all. I mean, this will knock their socks off, believe me. This is the place, and with Toronto and Detroit playing in this game, wait and see. They'll remember this forever.
That's the thing about Michigan Stadium. It's memorable. It sparkles in the sun. Game days in Ann Arbor are magnificent events, steeped in tradition. Inside the Big House, it's about pageantry. It's about the band.
Man, it's nothing like playing there. It's nothing like it.
They've been playing there since 1927. The Big House built on the eve of the Great Depression. 6 times they've renovated Michigan Stadium to make it the spectacle it is today.
This is one of the most unique stadiums in the country, and by that I mean people have copied the stadium. Notre Dame literally somehow got the architectural drawings of Michigan Stadium to build their own stadium, which is one of the reasons why Notre Dame and Michigan supposedly didn't like each other back in the 1920s.
But beyond sport and rivalry, more than just passion and tradition, the Big House represents an identity to a state that has been decimated by financial hardship and the demise of the auto industry. Detroit is bankrupt, downtown abandoned, a region in economic despair. But the Big House still stands, a venue that is a state symbol of stability and strength.
The test of time has endured from the 1800s all the way into the 21st century. This is where we want champions. This is where they are called the champions of the West and leaders and best.
You think things might not be as good as they could be in Detroit or in the state of Michigan after 2008 and the recession we've gone through, but boy, when you come to the Big House on Saturday, you'd never know it.
And so on New Year's Day, it will be the Big House once again that will be under the spotlight, the focus of the hockey world. Winter Classics have been played elsewhere in the past, but nowhere quite like this.
Everyone chases Michigan. They're chasing that stadium. Everyone's adding seats to beat Michigan. So when you talk about where does it sit, where is it at, we're not chasing, they're following. We're in the league. It's number one. It's the benchmark. It sets the standard and the tone.